Sorry, who's talking? Oh, my bad. Just getting my back adjusted. It gets out of line pretty quickly. So just getting my back put back in place a little bit. But other than that, feel great.
Trust is the hardest currency to earn in professional sports, and the easiest thing to lose in the blink of an eye. If you thought the Indiana Fever losing their highly anticipated home opener to a 10-win basketball team was the lowest point of the weekend, you clearly did not stick around for the post-game press conference. Because what head coach Stephanie White said into a live microphone, sitting on a podium broadcast on national television, is currently going massively viral across every single social media platform. It is spreading like wildfire, and for all the wrong reasons. It is going viral for being one of the most absurd, mathematically illiterate, and deeply concerning coaching quotes in the modern history of the WNBA. And the worst part? Mere moments later, her own franchise superstar, the face of the entire league, sat in that exact same chair, looked into those exact same cameras, and completely contradicted her head coach. Welcome back to the channel. Today, the comment section is a digital graveyard. The fans are organizing. The rebellion is fully funded. And we are going to expose exactly why millions of Caitlyn Clark fans are refusing to accept the weak and uninspired excuses coming out of the Indiana Fever organization. We are going to look at the exact quotes word for word. We are going to acknowledge the actual statistics of the game. And then we are going to dive into the terrifying psychological reality of a head coach who has lost the plot, a locker room that is accepting failure, and a front office desperately hiding a serious medical secret in the shadows. Grab your popcorn, because things are about to get very spicy. Let us start with that viral quote that broke the internet, because the context is absolutely horrifying when you break it down. The Indiana Fever had just lost an overtime thriller to the Dallas Wings. They surrendered 107 points in their own building, on their own home floor, in front of their own passionate fans. Their so-called Big Three, Caitlyn Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, combined for a spectacular 73 points. They delivered a masterpiece on the offensive end. And when the media asked head coach Stephanie White about the challenge of playing the Dallas Wings, this is exactly what she had the audacity to say. We cannot just go out and try to outscore Dallas. Let that sentence sink in. We cannot just go out and try to outscore Dallas. Are you kidding? You have Caitlyn Clark on your roster. You have the greatest offensive engine and most visionary playmaker in the entire history of women's college basketball running your point. You have Kelsey Mitchell, an all-WNBA caliber shooting guard who just dropped 30 points effortlessly. You have Aaliyah Boston, a former #1 overall pick who can dominate the paint against virtually anyone. Your entire franchise identity, your entire business model, the very reason thousands of people are packing that arena, is built on the premise of outscoring the opponent. If you are the head coach of the Indiana Fever and you genuinely believe you cannot outscore a Dallas team that won 10 games last year, you have absolutely no idea what roster you are coaching. It is the exact equivalent of the Kansas City Chiefs head coach looking into the camera and saying, "We are not going to be able to throw the football with Patrick Mahomes tonight, so we just have to play better defense." It is a complete and embarrassing coaching surrender before the battle has even begun. But you do not have to take my word for it. Listen to what Caitlyn Clark said when she took the microphone minutes later. Clark looked at the press, completely unfazed, and stated, "Our offense is obviously not the issue. We are perfectly fine on offense." Boom. A direct, laser-guided contradiction of her own head coach. Stephanie White is sitting there terrified of a high-scoring shootout, while Caitlyn Clark knows mathematically that scoring 73 points between 3 players means the offense did its job. The disconnect is glaring. The disconnect is terrifying. Now let us be fair and balanced here, because that is what we do on this channel. On paper, as a general basketball philosophy, White is not entirely wrong about Dallas. Head coach Latricia Trammell is running an effective system. The Wings have elite players who excel in constant motion and can hurt you from multiple levels. Being intentional defensively against them is completely defensible in a vacuum. However, philosophical theories do not erase the reality of the final scoreboard. You gave up 107 points at home. You can talk about defensive coverages all you want in the press conference room, but when the opposing guards look like they are running layup drills in an empty gym, your defensive philosophy is a catastrophic failure. And instead of standing up and taking accountability for that, Stephanie White deflected the blame entirely. She started talking about chemistry and roster timing. She looked at the reporters and said, "We know there is going to be a growth process. We got to be patient with that process. I know we want it instantaneously, but I think we give each other grace." Grace. She is asking for grace. Let me explain exactly why that specific word has the fans absolutely furious. You do not get to ask for grace when your organization is charging $97 for opening night tickets in the upper bowl. You do not get to ask for grace when your dedicated fans are traveling thousands of miles, booking hotel rooms, buying merchandise, and spending their hard-earned money to watch what is supposed to be a premium professional basketball product. This is no longer a rebuilding franchise hoping for a lottery pick. This roster possesses the most talented offensive trio in the WNBA right now. When you ask for patience and grace after surrendering 107 points to a perpetual lottery team, you are broadcasting to the entire fan base that you are not prepared to win. You are making excuses before the season has taken its first real breath. And the fans, who are intelligent and observant, are seeing straight through the smokescreen. If you venture into the comment section under this press conference video, it looks like a graveyard of broken promises. Fans are writing, "Stephanie White has zero accountability from the top down." They are typing, "You cannot outscore teams? Hand in your clipboard and resign." The Fever organization completely failed to read the room. They think they can pacify an educated, financially invested fan base with recycled coaching cliches about growth processes and building chemistry. But the fans are wide awake, and the deflection did not stop there. Stephanie White then had the audacity to push the blame directly onto the players themselves. When a reporter asked about challenging the Big Three to be true foundational leaders, White responded by saying she is continuing to challenge them to take ownership, and that is not just on the floor. It is off the floor. It is in the locker room. It is when things are not going your way. She even claimed that Kelsey Mitchell is only just now coming into her own in terms of leadership. This is textbook coaching malpractice. You are the head coach. You are the commander of the ship. When you suffer a devastating loss in your home opener, you do not sit at the podium and talk about challenging your players to lead the locker room better. You look the media dead in the eye and say, "I did a terrible job preparing our defense for this matchup. That loss falls 100% on my shoulders." But Stephanie White refuses to do that. It is always someone else's fault. She deflects to the growth process. She deflects to the players' leadership. And this pervasive lack of accountability at the very top is rapidly infecting the entire culture of this team. Let us go back to Caitlyn Clark's post-game interview for a truly terrifying psychological reality check. At the end of her statement, Clark said something so casually alarming it made the basketball world stop breathing. She said, "Our locker room was really positive afterwards, so we are not going to hang our heads. We are going to move forward. There is a whole lot to be proud of in there." Stop right there. You just lost your massive home opener. You gave up a historically bad defensive performance. Your Big Three dropped 73 combined points, and your bench scored exactly 5 total points in 56 combined minutes of professional basketball. You lost to a team that won 10 games last year. And your locker room is somehow positive? If this played out in the NFL, if the Dallas Cowboys blew a home opener, that quote would trigger a 5-alarm fire on every sports network in the country. Championship contending teams that lose winnable games at home do not sit in the locker room feeling positive and proud. The head coach is screaming. The competitive stars are furious. The locker room is a dark and angry place. Why? Because true champions hate losing infinitely more than they love winning. There should be absolute, unfiltered basketball rage in that locker room. If the Indiana Fever are sitting there feeling positive and proud after that defensive collapse, this franchise has already lost its competitive edge. They have subconsciously accepted losing as an acceptable outcome as long as everybody tried their best. That is a loser's mentality, and it is a direct reflection of a head coach who preaches grace and positivity instead of demanding ruthless dominance from her squad.
That we got to continue to grow. We're not going to be able to outscore teams in this league. Everybody's too good. You got to defend in multiple positions, and teams expose you if you're undisciplined. So we've just got to be better.
But as terrifying as that team psychology is, there is an even darker cloud hanging over this franchise. A mystery the front office is desperately trying to keep buried. We need to talk about the suspicious medical situation unfolding right in front of our eyes. The media asked Stephanie White about the injury report. White gave a slick, rehearsed, PR-friendly answer. She said, "We want her to be 100% out there." This is really just us being overly cautious to ensure we are not putting her in any position to regress physically. She made the entire situation sound like minor, standard athletic maintenance. Nothing to see here, folks. But then Caitlyn Clark sat at that same podium and accidentally told the unvarnished truth. A reporter asked about her unusual quick trips, sprinting back into the locker room tunnel during live game action. Clark casually responded, "Oh, just getting my back adjusted. It gets out of line pretty quickly, so just getting my back put back in place a little bit." Let those words marinate. Gets out of line pretty quickly. Getting my back put back in place. Caitlyn Clark is 24 years old. She is a once-in-a-generation elite athlete operating in the absolute prime of her physical life. Since when does a highly conditioned 2-4-year-old superstar have a spine that chronically gets out of line and requires manual realignment in the middle of a live professional basketball game? When legends like Larry Bird were getting their backs adjusted by trainers in the tunnel, they were already in their 30s. They had played a decade of grueling 8-2-game seasons against grown men trying to take their heads off. This situation with a 2-4-year-old Clark is not routine maintenance. This is a massive, neon red flag, and it hints at a chronic structural issue that the team is desperate to keep quiet. The fan base has zero reason to trust this front office on medical matters. Why? Because they have a long memory. They have not forgotten the great deception of 2025, 5 grueling months where the Fever medical staff strung the entire paying fan base, along with vague, misleading day-to-day injury reports about a mysterious groin issue. They paraded an obviously injured superstar around the country, trotting her out just enough to keep selling out arenas and moving merchandise, while lying about the true severity of the situation. You lied to the fans once to protect your bottom line. You do not ever get the benefit of the doubt on medical mysteries again. The rebellion is fully funded. The fans are wide awake and taking copious notes. The general managers across the league already rejected Stephanie White's coaching acumen, shutting her out completely in the annual anonymous survey and giving her exactly 0 votes for best coach. The fans are now rejecting her economically, leaving thousands of expensive seats completely empty and driving secondary ticket prices down to a shocking $19 for the upcoming home game. And now her own viral quotes are being weaponized as undeniable ammunition to prove she does not understand the offensive capabilities of her own roster. Let me make this perfectly clear. This channel is not going to blindly support the hometown team when they gaslight the fan base into believing their twisted version of reality. The Slurp fan club can go ahead and believe Stephanie White when she demands grace for a terrible performance. They can celebrate a positive locker room atmosphere following a humiliating and entirely preventable loss. But we do not do that here. We call it straight down the middle, every single time, without fear or favor. We demand accountability from the people cashing million-dollar checks. The Indiana Fever have 43 games remaining on this season's schedule. If Caitlyn Clark's back is already requiring mid-game realignments just to survive 4 quarters, if the defense is already bleeding 107 points a night to inferior opponents, and if the head coach is already publicly stating they cannot outscore other professional basketball teams, then this season is rapidly hurtling toward becoming a complete and historical disaster. You cannot run a billion-dollar sports asset with a minor league mentality. It is a recipe for ruin. Flood the comment section right now with every unfiltered thought you have. What was your first reaction when Stephanie White claimed the team cannot outscore their opponents? Are you terrified about the mystery surrounding Caitlyn Clark's back? What do you think about a professional locker room being happy and positive after blowing a home opener? Drop every fiery opinion below. Smash that subscribe button if you want the unfiltered truth that balances real basketball analysis with the raw emotion of the passionate fan base. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a single explosive update. The season is officially here. The behind-the-scenes drama is sitting at an absolute all-time high, and the undeniable receipts are being collected by the minute. This franchise is standing at a genuine crossroads right now, and every single decision made in the next few weeks will define whether this is remembered as the season the Fever finally broke through or the season they completely wasted the most exciting player the women's game has ever seen. Stay vigilant, stay loud, and I will see you on the court next time.